Close Mets assistant general manager John Ricco on David Wright Matt Ehalt, staff writer, at Matt Ehalt, New York. With a little more than 3 weeks left in the season, David Wright remains optimistic he will complete his comeback at some point this month. Mets assistant general manager John Ricco does not share such a positive outlook. Ricco said Friday afternoon that the Mets and the medical staff have the final call on whether Wright will return, and noted that there is not much time left in the season. Wright has still yet to meet all of the requirements asked of him by the medical staff, and he is scheduled to play in a simulated game Saturday in front of the coaching staff. It's possible the situation could turn into a showdown between the sides if Wright insists he can play and the team is unwilling to add him to the roster. We've tried to set up this as best as we could under the rules with how many rehab games he's allowed to play in. It has been difficult, Ricco said before the Mets faced the Phillies. He had better part of the summer to get to the point where he could come back and play in games. He did that, but not to the level we talked about. Now, honestly, it does get more difficult to foresee a situation where he could come back to that level, while the expanded rosters that teams are afforded in September would allow the Mets to carry Wright even if he's not able to be a full-time player. The Mets are not taking any shortcuts. They are going to wait until he is cleared by the medical staff, and Wright seemingly will have to show that he can play without any limitations, and be effective. Wright fell short of meeting the team's goals for him during his rehab assignment, and he's in a tough spot now since there are no minors games he can play in. He instead will have to use sim games and other alternatives to prepare for a possible return. Ricco indicated the team is not considering a scenario where Wright is activated only to be a pinch hitter or just to have a final few at-bats to allow him to make it back. Ricco said he has not talked to Wright about whether he plans to return in 2019. One Mets source said Wright is expected to return this season, but it will come later in the year. A logical target could be the team's final homestand. David is obviously David Wright, but we look at it the same way we look at all these guys. When you come back as a player, not as in that limited type of role, because you never know what the game is going to throw at you, Ricco said Friday afternoon. You say that it's just a pinch runner and then he's running. We haven't really talked about a lower bar. It's kind of the bar is what it is, as the Mets have provided few details on the checkpoints Wright has yet to reach. It has increased the perception that the insurance policy is a big factor in this decision. The team is currently receiving 75% of the $20 million Wright is owed this season. Wright is currently owed roughly $2.6 million the rest of the year, and the Mets would be on the hook for that money should he return. Wright returning would also reset the 60-day insurance clock for next season, costing the team roughly $3.7 million. Ricco downplayed any financial influence. I think really where we've been all the way along is it's a health thing, Ricco said. He's been out for 2 years and just making sure that when he comes back he's able to physically take the field and perform. That's really where my mind has been. Saturday's simulated game could help Wright since Mickey Callaway will finally get to see him in a game-like setting, and Callaway will offer his input on whether Wright should be actuated. Wright is scheduled for 6 at-bats, and will field grounders. Callaway said it seems Wright is getting close to performing all the fundamental activities needed to take the field. We want to put him in a spot where he can go out there and do the job, be successful at whatever he's going to do, whether it's pinch hit that day or start and come out of it healthy, Callaway said. You ever want to put somebody in jeopardy? More NY Mets news. Injuries. Mets receive positive news on Devin Meso. Reed more. While David Wright joins Mets, he is not expected to be activated during road trip.